Your daughter was a variable in a high-speed pursuit, and unfortunately, variables get bruised. If she's in a coma, perhaps it's because she finally learned to be quiet. Now, get out of my precinct before I find a reason to book you for obstructing justice." Officer Miller Reid didn't just speak, he spat the words. He stood in the center of the classic 14th District Precinct lobby, an environment of oppressive old-world authority. High vaulted ceilings, worn oak paneling, and a massive, tiered crystal chandelier that flickered with a cold, institutional light. Reid leaned against the heavy-duty desk. He was looking down at Sarah Jenkins, a woman with deeply pigmented mahogany skin whose quiet authority was currently muffled by the raw, jagged edges of grief. She was dressed in a simple navy blue trench coat and a cream cashmere wrap, new outfit. Her daughter, a straight-A student, lay in a hospital bed with a shattered skull because Reid's cruiser had clipped her on a sidewalk. "My daughter was on the sidewalk, Officer Reid," Sarah said, her voice a low, melodic resonance that seemed to make the heavy oak walls vibrate. "You didn't clip a variable. You hunted a child. I want the dashcam footage, and I want it now." The precinct lobby didn't fall silent. It filled with the sharp, jagged laughter of the surrounding officers and city hangers-on. A woman in a shimmering charcoal gray business suit, a city attorney, leaned against a fluted column, smirking at Sarah with clinical disdain. "Honestly, Sarah," the attorney laughed, her eyes raking over Sarah's simple attire, "you're very committed to the grieving mother role. But let's be real, people like you don't get dashcam footage. You get a no comment and a door in your face. Maybe you should spend more time at the hospital and less time bothering men who actually have a city to run." The man beside her, a local contractor with city ties, joined in, pointing a finger at Sarah's worn leather purse. "I'll give her $20 to go wash the squad cars. She looks like she's built for labor anyway. Go on, Reid. Clear the lobby before the real taxpayers show up." 12 people in the background, a mix of janitors in gray uniforms, delivery drivers, and low-level clerks, were minding their business, mopping floors or sorting mail, but 8 others were acting as active witnesses, leaning over the wooden railings to catch every second of the humiliation with judgmental grins. Miller Reid finally lost his patience. In a moment of raw, unposed physical aggression, he didn't just sneer. He deliberately reached out and shoved Sarah, his hands striking her shoulder so hard she stumbled back against a brass railing. "Thanks for the support. We couldn't do this without you. Subscribe for free to help us keep bringing you more stories. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and country in the comments." "Now, back to the story. I said move," Reid hissed, his face twisted in a mask of vicious mockery. "Security, get this loiterer out of my lobby before she stains the floor with her tragedy." The laughter in the precinct was a physical weight. Sarah didn't cry. She didn't scream. She slowly straightened her navy trench coat, her eyes meeting Reid's with a coldness that caused the officer's smirk to falter. "You've spent your life thinking the badge makes you a god, Miller?" Sarah whispered, the coldness in her tone causing the witnesses' laughter to die instantly. "But you forgot that the city is a machine, and I am the one who wrote the code. You didn't just shove a grieving mother. You just touched the woman who holds the digital keys to every secret, every offshore account, and every deleted file in this department. And as of this second, I've decided to hit delete on your life." She didn't move as 2 guards in charcoal suits approached. She stood with lethal calmness, while the city attorney toasted her exit with a mocking laugh, unaware that her own career was about to be erased. The heavy brass-reinforced doors of the precinct didn't just open. They were violently bypassed as the facility's entire digital locking system cycled from green to a flashing, rhythmic red. The hum of the massive, tiered crystal chandelier overhead grew to a high-pitched whine as the lights flared to 200% brightness, illuminating the panic starting to bloom on the faces of the officers. At the center of the chaos stood Sarah Jenkins, her navy blue trench coat still disheveled from the shove, but her posture had shifted from a grieving mother to a cold, digital executioner. Suddenly, every monitor in the lobby, the booking screens, the duty rosters, the public info terminals, flickered and died. A second later, they roared back to life, But they weren't displaying police business. They were streaming a high-definition loop of Officer Miller Reid's dashcam footage from 48 hours ago. The lobby filled with the sound of a sickening thud as the footage showed Reid's cruiser deliberately swerving onto the sidewalk to clip a teenage girl. "What is this? Shut it down," Miller Reid roared, his voice cracking with a primal terror that echoed off the oak paneling. He lunged for his workstation, but his login was rejected with a screeching alarm. Standing in the center of the lobby was Julian Vane, the state's most feared federal prosecutor, flanked by 4 agents from the Department of Justice. He didn't look at the officers reaching for their holsters. He walked straight to Sarah and handed her a physical, paper-bound warrant. "Mrs. Jenkins," Julian's voice boomed, silencing the room. "The encrypted server you unlocked for us 10 minutes ago has provided everything. We have the deleted footage, the offshore payroll records, and the private messages between Officer Reid and the city attorney discussing the disposal of the evidence. The systemic audit of the 14th District is now a federal seizure." The silence that followed was absolute. It was the heavy, suffocating quiet of an empire being liquidated. Miller Reid felt the floor give way beneath him. His face, once a mask of arrogant laughter, was now a pale, sweating ruin. "Miller, you fool," Julian said, his voice dripping with professional disdain. "You thought Sarah was a variable you could shove into the shadows. You didn't realize she is the lead systems architect for the city's entire digital infrastructure. She didn't just work for the city. She built the ghost servers you used to hide your corruption. You just assaulted the woman who holds the master password to your freedom." Sarah stepped forward, her cream cashmere wrap draped over her arm, her quiet authority now a blinding light. The witnesses who had been laughing, the city attorney in the charcoal suit, and the contractor who offered $20 for Sarah to wash the cars, were now frantically checking their phones, only to realize their bank accounts were flashing balance $0. "You were so worried about the taxpayers in your lobby, Miller?" Sarah whispered, her voice a low, lethal resonance that seemed to vibrate the very glass of the chandelier. "But you forgot that I am the one who calculates the tax." Julian triggered the civil rights racketeering protocols. This man and his accomplices just engaged in the tampering of federal evidence and physical assault on a protected witness. Their pensions? Reclaimed for the victim's trust. Their badges? I want them melted down by sunset.
"You can't do this," the city attorney shrieked, her voice echoing off the vaulted ceilings. "I have connections. I have a legacy." "Your legacy is being deleted as we speak," Sarah replied, not even turning to look at her. "I've already redirected your connections to the FBI's tip line. You'll find that when the money disappears, so does the loyalty." 12 people in the background, the janitors and clerks who had been minding their business, stopped what they were doing and watched in a grim, silent satisfaction. The 8 witnesses who had encouraged Reid were now being handcuffed by federal agents, their judgmental grins replaced by masks of pure, unadulterated fear. "Get them out of my sight," Sarah commanded. As the federal agents gripped Miller Reid's arms to drag him toward the holding cells he had once ruled, Sarah stood alone beneath the brilliant light of the chandelier, the woman who had erased a corrupt legacy to save her daughter's future, while the man who mocked her was hauled into the dark.